Um, let me first just properly introduce myself. I know we're going to have several groups on here who really haven't had a proper introduction to IncentiFind or even me. So, quick blurb about myself. So, you can see there my background in education's in architecture. So, I began my career at NASA here, Johnson Space Center. I was tasked with greening that campus. They had to meet LEED Silver standards because they are a federal facility. So I was there to implement as many green measures and the LEED Silver certification. After that, I went and worked in the Texas Medical Center for Methodist Hospital System and helped to green some of their complex laboratories, CGMPs, and other types of medical facilities. So then from there, I went on to also implement sustainable measures in the oil and gas industry, pharmaceutical industry, and with the Department of Defense. So my entire career has been spent on greening even the most complex of assets. Fast forward to today, now I'm founder, current CEO of IncentiFind. You're going to learn a lot about us today, but really the nuts and bolts of it, if you will, is that we still stand as the only national database for real estate focused incentives. You're going to hear me say United States, but please know we have already begun serving portfolios and properties and asset types in Canada. So you can expect that to expand more throughout this year. Also on the line, we've got Grace Bennett. Next month, she's going to be helping to tag team the storytelling behind every commercial project she sits on. She's the one that has an army under her. She's the one that's going to match your real estate asset or property to the incentives that we house in our database. You'll see that here in a second. And so honestly, she is the expert at IncentiFind for what incentives are really make the most sense for your project based on its location, scope of work, and asset type. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Usually I go into, the about IncentiFind, but I thought I would actually just touch on some things happening in the incentive landscape. This will be focused on the United States, just FYI. We will begin to slowly add Canada and what we're monitoring there, probably come summertime. And then both the United States and Canada will be part of this webinar series, just a heads up there. I do want to touch on something for those of you who weren't on our end of year or annual real estate incentive insights. Please know you can find that again on our YouTube channel. Just go to IncentiFind.com. I'm on our main webpage. Scroll to the bottom, hit that YouTube channel, and you can see the annual insights. We talk about our top 10 cities for real estate incentive offerings. We dive in deep into our top 3 cities, what we anticipate seeing on the incentive landscape. Why is that changing? What is it being influenced by? What does that mean for your properties and real estate in those particular metro areas? So really recommend having a look. That's one of our more popular annual events. That said, that's what I want to talk about and kind of pick up from today, because, come January, every single year, incentives are changing, right? There's a new rollout, there's new policies and legislation being passed. And so I want to just give you a little bit of a taste of what we've been seeing that we really think will affect a lot of the folks who do work with IncentiFind or beginning to think about working with IncentiFind, okay? So here is our top 10 cities or markets to watch. You can see it right there on our screen. Again, you're going to get a copy of this recording. You can also find it on our annual real estate insights on our YouTube channel. If you don't see a city that you do a lot of either development or perhaps you have assets in, don't let that discourage you. We actually monitor all the way up to 25 cities. And so, there's a chance that a city you do a lot of business in or a lot of development in, or perhaps have a focused portfolio in, it probably makes our top 25 list there. So here's some other things that are happening. Big and great news on the federal front. The 179D tax incentive has been permanently extended. Why should that, matter to you guys here? Why should it matter to the owners, perhaps, that you serve? Well, this tax credit, as you can see here, can offer up to a $1.80 per square foot for basic and very commonly implemented energy efficiency technology that you see in a lot of your assets. So fantastic incentive. Again, not available to tenants, so to speak, but your building owners can definitely take advantage of that. The 45L tax incentive has also been extended to the end of 2021. We really like this. We work with a lot of multifamily groups, a lot of mixed use groups. You can see right there, up to $2,000 in tax credit per unit. So a very exciting incentive. And again, this is for installing your most basic energy efficiency technology that we see in a lot of the multifamily developments. Here's some other things we are monitoring. State of Ohio, and we do sincerely hope that this changes soon. State of Ohio has canceled their energy efficiency programs. They did this towards the end of last year. We are continuing to monitor with our advocacy groups and lobbyist groups to see when those come back on. Of course, the federal incentives still apply in Ohio, so there's still money on the table that can be taken advantage of. This is solely for energy efficiency, so don't let this discourage you on the economic development front. Yes, we do house those incentives. We are continuing to watch water conservation, renewables, and electric vehicles to see how those are going to be impacted as well. If Ohio decides to come back online, we're going to be sure to put that on our webinar series. So please lean on us for kind of the latest and greatest in a lot of this kind of news. Another thing we're noticing, you can see here for the largest greenhouse gas emitters. You can see now there's being fees applied to facilities, industrial manufacturing, even microbreweries that I know we've all touched in this particular area. They're going to be subject to these fees. We do anticipate Oregon's not going to be the only state to implement this. You're going to start seeing this go, on a national spread. So again, lean on us. We'll talk about the other cities that are beginning to implement fees for greenhouse gas emissions. You can see here some interesting things happening in San Jose, Oakland, and San Francisco. There's prohibiting of natural gas infrastructure. This is going to be really interesting to watch because natural gas, we do house a lot of incentives for natural gas. So we want to keep a close eye. And if you have assets in the San Jose, Oakland area, come to IncentiFind. We're going to help you navigate a lot of the complexity that's happening with natural gas and inputting it into various types of real estate assets. And then you can see here as well with San Francisco. So again, the goal is we want to make you aware of it, let you know what's happening. And as these mandates and policies are being implemented, please also know that typically incentives are going to be paired with new mandates, new policies, new fees. Your federal, state, county, city, and utility level governments do not want to discourage construction. So they'll always pair them with incentives. I think everyone pretty much is aware New York City is now requiring to show these energy efficiency ratings. They also implemented some more stringent energy and performance standards, but they have fantastic and very lucrative incentive offerings. Heads up, if you do work in the New York City or greater New York City area, you always want to get your projects in quickly. While there is a lot of money on the table, we can tell you the process to earmark those funds is quite laborious and quite long. The government there, NYSERDA especially, wants to get involved on projects early in the design process. So be sure if you're thinking about a project, if it's on the horizon, get it submitted into our database as soon as possible. I'll show you how you can do that and how it only takes 2 minutes. And then you can see Boston, zero emission vehicle, really just trying to drive that. So we're really seeing outside of California, Massachusetts is right there neck and neck to drive those electric vehicle incentives and this transition towards more electric vehicles. I think that COVID's not really behind us, and Here was something we talked about last year, and I'm not seeing anything change. Remember, we see thousands of commercial assets across the United States and Canada come through our system on a daily basis, and we are still seeing owners incredibly hyper focused on implementing energy efficiency. They have got to figure out how to reduce the monthly operating expenditure of these real estate assets. This is existing and new construction, right? So energy efficiency is a big category for a lot of our owners. We're also seeing owners migrating their interest towards water conservation because it takes a lot of energy to move water throughout a building. So knowing that IncentiFind houses this water conservation incentive category, owners want to begin looking at that as well. So they're expanding their focus from just energy efficiency to water conservation. And the last thing is, without a doubt, controls are still the hottest technology and piece of equipment we are seeing on almost every project type. This can be HVAC, lighting controls. Overall, owners need to think about their dynamic loads, right? Not everybody's going back to the office right away. We're still, very much in a cautious and quarantine mindset. So owners want that flexibility, and control sequences allow them to address that. Yes, there are incentive programs for controls. You're gonna want to get with IncentiFind, because guess what? Since this is emerging technology, this category has not been out there for a lot of utility companies. They lump it into a category they call custom. I know you can't see me doing the air quotes, but it's just a general, this is a custom technology. And so to navigate capturing the incentives for controls, it can be a little bit messy process, because the utility companies are trying to develop that process on the fly as new technology continues to come out. There have been no updates on these cities here that we're looking to put out additional energy efficiency, building performance, mandates, if you will. So as these cities do come online with igniting these new mandates, we'll be sure to pop them over on this side and then list the additional cities, states, counties, or what have you, that are up next for more strict building performance standards. I think if you've been on any sort of news channel, I think you've seen a lot of state and local governments, as well as our new administration at the federal level, making incredible commitments towards climate change, right? And addressing climate change, and understanding that buildings are massive emitters of wasteful energy use and water. And so I think you're still going to see these state and local governments pushing these mandates, not only to combat climate change and be more resilient, but also they're trying to stimulate the economy, and green jobs do create more jobs. So we can only anticipate more states, counties, other types of local governments passing these mandates. Remember, they're always going to pair this with incentives. We house those, we watch that closely. Further, we even help to pilot new incentive programs on behalf of utility companies and local governments. So you can always rely on IncentiFind to house a lot of these particular programs. Solar mandates, we continue to watch this in California. We're still seeing just a huge uptick in existing multifamilies in California that need to upgrade their particular assets to attract and retain tenants, or perhaps they need to dispose of the assets, so they're going to do particular upgrades, increase the value of that asset, and then put it out for sale. So they're coming to IncentiFind to say, I have new designated solar zone requirements I have to meet. Can you tell me what incentives are there? Not only from a solar standpoint, but from an energy efficiency and water conservation, because I need to offset the costs of now implementing solar on all of my multifamily upgrades or new construction projects. So we're there to show all cost savings that might help with addressing some of these mandates here. Let me come out of this real quick, because I think this is the last little update. Yep, it sure is. So let me come back to the top. And tell you a little bit about IncentiFind for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We're going to walk through who we are. You see sort of the data we're tracking, right? You understand how a lot of this legislation and mandates and policies that are being passed are impacting the real estate landscape. But again, we're there to be your expert when it comes to incentives, right? And any sort of applicability to real estate. So we are based in Houston, Texas. We're a virtual company. So if you're curious to use this the first time, whether it's Seattle, New York, Miami, LA, no, we do not need to show up on your site. We do everything virtually online. You're going to see how quick our process is, incredibly easy, and our team is already understands how to navigate capturing your incentives from a virtual standpoint. The other thing is we'll be doing a recount of the database. This is last year's number. We always get asked, what's the new number? We typically have it right before summer. We have doubled almost every single year. We anticipate it'll be the same for this year. For real estate incentives, you keep hearing me say that, and I bet you're wondering, well, where are you collecting this from? Where are they coming from? You can see right there in the green, they're coming from federal levels. States, counties, city, and utility. For utility, no, it's not just electric. Gas and water, we also collect. So again, if there's any offerings there, or if this is in your scope of work, we'll be sure to reveal those. And then please note, we further, outside of collecting the incentives from 5 levels of government across all 50 states, we further segment the incentives so we can reveal to you incentives available to property owners. Maybe you represent a developer, maybe you're a developer and you typically develop and you sell your asset onto an owner and operator. Yes, we will reveal incentives based on how long you hold a property. So you can lean on us for that as well. And then we also have incentives for tenants. So if this is a group that you represent, we can reveal incentives available solely for tenants. Let me note one thing, because I know we do get asked this, is do you work in any of the US territories? The answer is no. The incentives you see here don't really operate the same in the US territories, but anywhere in the 50 states, absolutely, these incentives are applicable, and we have a 3-step process to help you capture them. First thing to know about our database, it's bifurcated. There's a new construction side of the house and existing buildings. So when you fill out our 2-minute survey to search our database, we're going to make sure based on your response, you end up on the right side of the database. You don't need to worry about that. All you have to do is fill out a 2-minute survey. Part of that 2-minute survey, once it's submitted, you click that button that says submit. Your survey response goes into our database, and we review your building holistically. We're the only database to do this currently. So we're going to look at all of your energy systems, indoor and outdoor. So yes, your LED parking lot lighting, we can look at that, right? If you have generators, we can look at that as well. And then for anything energy related to the building, it is building envelope, it's the roof, it is thermostats, windows, insulation, anything that touches or could reduce your energy load, we house those incentives. So if that's part of your scope, you will answer that in your 2-minute survey response, and we'll match you to those incentives. We also house renewables where applicable. So again, a lot of California assets needing to look at this, but perhaps this is part of a commitment, a corporate commitment to renewables or solar on your particular assets. We do house that. After we look at your energy systems, perhaps solar, again, where applicable, we can look at your water systems. This is indoor and outdoor. So we can look at everything from rainwater harvesting to even landscape. Believe it or not, your drought-prone states, they are offering some fantastic incentives for water conservation. Once we look at all of your energy systems, water systems, again, renewable where applicable, we can further look at the land that an asset sits on. Again, this isn't going to be applicable to your tenants, but for your owners and developers, it is. This list is not all encompassing, right? It's just to give you a little flavor of what is housed in our other category. It can be a brownfield EV charge station, opportunity zone, new market tax credit. If you're wondering if you're in a PACE eligible area, we reveal that too. If you haven't heard about PACE, that's okay. We're gonna have a PACE expert join our webinar series this year, so you'll get to learn more about it. It's a specialized financing mechanism for properties that go above code in energy and water equipment. We house resilience incentives. We help to pilot the resilience incentives here in Houston as well as Boston. We do anticipate other cities will begin to address resilience from a flood mitigation, hurricane proofing, and fireproofing standpoint. And then the smart building technology is really an emerging area that we continue to watch, especially in the healthcare sector. So just again, trying to give you a flavor of what's there, not all encompassing. We also always get asked, what kind of incentives do you house? It's anything from tax related to grants, to fee waivers. Maybe you're a developer. Let's talk. There are fee waivers out there depending on what you address. Rebates, think of a rebate as a cash reimbursement, okay? And then of course, we have build credits. Build credits are mostly gonna be applicable to load management, solar, programs like that. So again, you don't need to memorize this. You submit a 2-minute survey, we give you a digestible report where we can make you the decision-making process for which incentives you go after and which ones are best for your property. You can see that right there in the digital report. It's very easy to read. Plus, you'll see here in a second how you get to talk to one of our experts to help you through that decision-making process. Biggest takeaway from this particular webinar series or anything about IncentiFind is, remember, we are here to bridge the gap. If you want to know how many properties we touch, we're on track to connect 25,000 commercial projects. This is new construction in existing buildings to 20 billion in incentives. That's currently the cash reimbursements housed in our database. That isn't even the tax incentive. So we want to get rid of this every single year, if not more, right? So it's the fastest we can connect that to properties. It makes us happy. I know it makes our tenants, owners, and developers happy as well. And the way we do this, again, you keep hearing me say 2-minute survey. You're going to see that here in a second. It's incredibly easy to use. It's smart. It's a smart survey. So as you answer questions, it will know how to adjust. The goal of the 2-minute survey is to ask you the minimum amount of questions necessary to quickly reveal eligible incentives. If you're wondering who uses us, I know majority of the people on the line are going to be in the AEC industry. That's architecture, engineering, and sustainability. We do a lot with corporate real estate, especially in oil and gas right now. I know we've been helping them as well as pharmaceutical groups. Facility maintenance groups, we work with a lot of facility maintenance firms just because using IncentiFind is a great way to identify cost savings for capital improvement planning and budgeting. Why use us? Honestly, the biggest thing is going to be this first bullet point. We ran a quick test with a wonderful subject who raised her hand to run through this little test with us. And we submitted a two-minute survey into our database for her particular real estate asset. It was a ground-up asset, kind of run-of-the-mill basic hotel that she typically develops. And in 2 minutes, she submitted the survey, and in a couple hours, our report populated every single incentive that was available to her asset. We asked her, why don't you go and run a Google search? You know the city you develop in constantly, right? You're pretty familiar. Tell us, just out of curiosity, how long that takes. What incentives do you come up with? It was a couple weeks when she got back, and still she was missing incentives. She still didn't understand how to quickly digest why she was eligible, what's the red tape around that, how long does it take to apply? Is the application period even open? How does that align to her construction schedule, and on and on and on. Finding incentives on Google is really hard. It just is. And if you've ever had to do it, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. So again, the only thing you're ever going to be on the hook for is a 2-minute survey. We do all the hard work for you. Another question we get asked, so I want to be sure we touch on the most commonly asked questions. IncentiFind, I have this kind of property, this kind of building. Is that good for incentives? Look, the only two wrong asset types or construction types that are wrong for IncentiFind are going to be non-permanent buildings. So I know we had a flush of assets that temporary assets that came in. Majority of them were healthcare, pop-up healthcare facilities in response to COVID and the vaccinations. They don't have a permanent meter, so they are not eligible for incentives. That's a great example of a temporary, non-permanent building. RV parks, anything mobile, unless you have a permanent meter, it's going to be really tough for our permanent address as well. It's going to be really tough for us to match you. The other thing is it's got to be vertical. No, we don't do golf courses. Yes, we've been asked that before. Then we need an actual building or asset to work with here, right? But the rest of, you can see commercial sector, residential. Yes, we do master plan communities. We get asked that a lot as well. We've got all of those particular incentives there. At the end of the day, you keep hearing me say 2-minute survey will reveal the incentives. What are we selling at IncentiFind? You put in the 2-minute survey. We will reveal the incentives you're eligible for. You can see right here, it's through a digital product. We call it the Verify Report. We verify what you're eligible for. And we sell 2 versions of this product. Most people are going to come into IncentiFind and have a single property, a single development, right? And that's very common. Other groups are going to say, I need to look at an entire portfolio. Oil and gas is a great example of this, right? We have other corporations that now have more stringent commitments to energy reductions or a commitment to solar or renewables on their properties. They also submit multiple buildings or portfolios. So again, we sell 1 product, 2 versions, single building, multiple. After we provide you with this digital product, we have 1 service. We either can do the rebate incentives all in-house for you. I'll talk about our fee structure for that here in a second. Or if it's tax related, don't worry, we're not going to get you excited, you or your owner excited about an incentive and not be able to follow through with how to capture that. So we're not going to say, oh, here's a tax incentive, good luck on getting that. No, we partnered with several tax firms across the country, and you can click a button that says get connected, and an automated email will be sent connecting your owner or you to this tax professional, and they can help you with fulfillment. We don't do any tax incentives in-house, okay? All right, so here's our 3-step process. Any project, doesn't matter if it's new construction, existing building, single building, multiple buildings, if it's a master plan community, it doesn't matter. They all go through the same 3-step process, and everything starts with a 2-minute survey. Okay, I'm going to show you that here on the website in a second. You fill out that survey. Anyone who knows about the project can do this. So if you've got a project engineer or project manager, owner's rep, if you want to do it as the owner or developer, you can do that too. You'll see they're incredibly simple questions about your property so that, remember, the goal is we ask the minimum amount of information to determine your eligibility, right? Please know, especially groups, if we have architecture, engineering, general contractors, or other types of consultants on the line, and you're worried, what do we do with those surveys? We do not sell them to anyone. When you submit a survey, that stays between whoever submits the survey and IncentiFind. That's it. We don't do anything with that information. So we will only respond to the person who submits. So if somebody else from your team even emails and asks about the project, we're going to come right back to whoever submitted and say, do we have your permission to talk about this? So we're pretty strict in how we deal with this particular project information. So again, you submit it, you get the report. It's our digital report for the commercial sector is $500 flat fee. So if you have a 1 million square foot project or a 10,000 square foot retail asset, it's $500. That's it. If you need to address a corporate campus, a higher ed campus, a K-12 campus, or a portfolio, absolutely that price can go down. So you don't have to worry about what our price structure is. Guess what? When you submit the survey, there's a little box that'll pop up and show you the price point automatically. We try to keep everything incredibly transparent at IncentiFind. Once you look at your verify report, right? This is where we match make you to all eligible incentives from federal, state, county, city, and utility level governments. You get to cherry pick the incentives you want to go after. You have a 1 hour call with Grace right here on the line. And she will say, for example, okay, for your hotel asset, there are 25 incentives offered across federal, state, county, city, and utility level governments. Can I tell you the good, the bad, the ugly about these? And as you go through this with Grace, she's going to help you understand, okay, I understand that this particular incentive excites you. Can I tell you why it's not good to go after? It doesn't match your construction schedule, right? Or you're going to be applying for this incentive right at the tail end of the closing of funding. I recommend going after it in the next program year. She is there to help maximize your funds and help you get excited about incentives you can actually capture. The last bit is what I was saying earlier. We found out very quickly with IncentiFind, when we don't provide solutions for you guys and the owners you represent on how to capture the incentives, people aren't too happy. So you can click a button for the incentives you cherry pick with Grace, and IncentiFind can get off to the races and start applying to those incentives. We will earmark the funds. We will coordinate inspections. We will communicate to whoever the point of contact is for the project, right? And make sure you guys know, okay, for the electric vehicle charge station, absolutely, the $60,000 in cash reimbursement assigned for those particular charge stations, we are now in application submission. The application has been approved. The utility company's telling us that those funds are now earmarked for your project. Let us know when the last date of install is. We'll coordinate an inspection, and that check is yours. The $60,000 is yours, right? We operate off of a contingency or success fee. What does this mean? It means that you click a button authorizing us to go chase down that incentive, and when we successfully capture it, that's when we assess our fee, right? It is out of those rebate dollars. We get asked this a lot. Well, what if we end up value engineering the electric vehicles out of the scope because we can't afford it and IncentiFind's already submitted the applications? Do we owe IncentiFind anything? And the answer is no, you don't. We understand anything can happen in real estate. That's why our contingency fee is 25%, okay? And again, we don't give estimates for the tax-related incentives. We can't do that. We can certainly connect you to someone who's an expert in your particular area, though. So if you want to see this in a time commitment, here's how it goes. This is how fast IncentiFind can act, right? Come to us as early as possible with your projects. It's going to take you a whopping 2 minutes to submit a survey. Then the report's produced. It is sent to you via email. We encourage you, book a call. You'll get a direct calendar link for Grace. Book that 1 hour call. You're going to want to go through all the incentives. You're going to want her brain on it to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, how it aligns with your construction schedule. How much is each one worth? What happens if you don't, do X, Y, or Z? So she's there to help you go through it, cherry pick the incentives you like, and then you're on the hook to at least forward us the documents for your specifications, quantities, plans, anything we need to fulfill the application, right? We would need access to that kind of information. So there's the time commitment for any project. Portfolio would be the same thing. Single building, same thing. Master plan community, doesn't matter. This is the time commitment for any project. Here's a long and short of planning and estimating incentives. Existing buildings, we get asked, okay, what is bottom of the ninth? Well, it's definitely 90 days. It's not that IncentiFind can't act quickly. We can rely on technology, our team of application fulfillment experts, they're experts in certain utility companies or asset types or scopes of work. We can get this done, but we have to lean on the government to send, to review the application and to send the letter showing that they have earmarked the funds for you. That is something we cannot control. So for existing buildings, bottom of the ninth, 90 days out from when you plan to install or even demo. So be sure to get projects in. You can see here, the sooner, the better, right? New construction, honestly, you've got a little bit more leeway, but I wouldn't encourage that. The reason why is we are seeing a lot of incentive programs, some of the most lucrative incentive programs wanting for new construction, wanting to be involved during the design phase. In other words, you could be ineligible if you wait until tender or construction. However, that's not for all new construction incentives, just some of the more recent ones. We hate for you to miss out, so the sooner the better. The other thing we've been seeing happening with utility companies is that they're shortening how much you can go retroactive. This used to be 9 months. And then we began running national averages, and we really only feel comfortable saying maybe 3 months past CO. And that's a big maybe, because a lot of utility companies continue to change this. They're showing a pattern. They want to be involved early on. So again, biggest takeaway, the sooner, the better. Regardless, always submit your 2-minute survey. We don't charge you for submitting a survey, so we can always get back to you and tell you, look, this one's past any sort of eligibility. Why don't you try for the next one? We're going to be there to communicate those kinds of things to you. All right, let's talk about some project examples. And I see some questions coming in, and I see we've got plenty of time to answer those. But please, when it does come to our project examples, these are anonymized. We do not answer anything specifically. Don't ask the owner or anything like that. The information we're presenting is all that we feel comfortable presenting and maintaining that level of confidentiality. Okay. So you can see here, light manufacturing, Montana. Grace, if you'll come off mute just in case I have some questions here. There's our 3-step process, right? You can see here, 2-minute survey was submitted by a consultant and installer on the project. It's very common. Installers or sustainability consultants, design team members will submit surveys on behalf of their owner, right? They want to be a value add to their owners. So this survey came in, and our system said, okay, hold on a second. For the survey response, for that scope of work, that asset type, yeah, historically speaking, we see on average about 40,000 in incentives available to this tiny asset. So from there, this particular installer was able to purchase this report. You can see there lots of incentives available. Why only 6? They had the 1-hour call with Grace, and Grace is there to look at the construction schedule. She's there to look at really honestly the red tape associated with this. We don't want to get owners involved with an uphill battle on chasing an incentive. That isn't good for the person who brings the project to us, and it isn't good for the owner either. So out of those 16 incentives, you can see 6 prove to be very lucrative, but also easy to capture. Definitely something IncentiFind could provide assistance with. Grace, anything to add to that without being too detailed?
No, I think you covered it.
Excellent. And then you can see there, the plan is for them to forward us the documents, and we already have an application fulfillment team ready to go to capture the 12.5 in cash. And then you can see additional tax incentives there. What I want to hover around on these particular rebates, because we do get asked this, okay, when can we anticipate rebates? Let me tell you that something IncentiFind does. We're going to look at your all eligible equipment. Remember the slide I talked about? We're going to look at all energy systems, all water systems. We're going to look at all that equipment. Well, you're not installing it all on one day, right? And then finish installing on another. There's a timeline of equipment that's being installed. We are going to look at the applications, and we're going to structure them such that you and your owner will get the cash and the rebate as each piece of eligible equipment is finishing its installation. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend that this particular project had lighting and HVAC, and I'm just kind of making that up off the cuff here, okay? What we would do is we'd say, okay, well, the lighting's eligible and it's worth, I don't know, just half this amount, right? Let's just say lighting's half this amount, HVAC is the other half, a clean 50-50 split. We can look at the lighting and say, okay, well, the day in month 3, the last light bulb and fixture will be installed. And it's worth, what, about $6,000, right? Let's make sure we submit that application, get the owner that $6,000 ASAP, right? The HVAC system, it's not going to finish installation until month 9, right? It's got to go through test, balancing, commissioning, all that good stuff. So, we'll wait until that last day in month 9 for the HVAC equipment to come back and ready for its inspection, and then we'll make sure that next 6,000 gets to you. In other words, we are not going to wait until all equipment is installed and try and go after one lump sum. No, we know your owners need that cash. They want to see that cash. They are probably implementing that into their, performa. So, as well as, budgeting aspects. So we're going to go and chase down each one of those pieces of eligible equipment and grab those cash reimbursements as soon as possible. We cannot control and do not control the tax incentives, right? Only what we do in-house. All right, let's look at another one. This is a multifamily, Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can see here. Grace, can you remind me who the type of person that submitted the survey? What was their persona?
Yeah, they were the building owner and operator.
Oh, this came directly from the owner. Okay, great. Yeah, it's not uncommon for owners to also submit. So the last one you heard was an installer consultant. This is a particular owner. Took him or her all of 2 minutes to submit their multifamily affordable housing project. Right away, we said, well, look, for a project with that scope, that location, I could expect about 115,000 in incentives. You can see mostly in the tax front, but here's some cash reimbursements. So owner books the 1-hour call with Grace. Remember, she's there to help cherry pick, right? She's going to walk through the construction schedule. And so while were 23 incentives available, it's all about chasing those that make the most sense and align to your construction schedule. So they chose 11, and you can see what this resulted in, right? So 32,000 in LED lighting, HVAC. This is a pretty typical scope that we're used to seeing for our multifamily existing building sort of upgrades, if you will. And then you can see the tax incentives that they went after as well here. So we did split up the scope. Again, as soon as the lighting schedule was done, we were there to submit, get the check to the owner. HVAC, same thing, and the other equipment. So we do work with your construction schedule to get the cash as soon as possible. All righty, let me open up the floor and start answering some questions. I want to be sure. I usually like to leave it on this slide. It's just easier. Alrighty, Grace. And if I forget any of the questions, just please help me. I know that sometimes we get them direct message as well. Grace, when I'm trying to open the Q&A, I can't see them. Can you see them?
Yeah, I sure can.
Okay, you got to
read them.
Yeah, just read them.
Read them off?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, sure. One came in, and the question is, so do we capture incentives for agriculture and or horticulture?
Good question. We absolutely will reveal them during the verify report. We don't do a lot of the USDA grant programs, if you will, or loan programs in-house. Don't worry, we do work with fantastic third parties or subject matter experts in those areas. So you will see them in your verify report. And again, we're not there to leave you hanging. We can certainly get you connected to someone who can help you with the application fulfillment. So the answer is yes, we do track them, and we'll connect you to an expert to get them executed. Next question, Grace.
Good deal. Next question is, do we track any quote unquote beyond code incentive programs?
I'm not sure what, perhaps if we can get a little bit more clarity on what beyond code, but essentially here's the rule of thumb for incentives in general. If you go above building code and anything in the energy system, indoor, outdoor, water systems, indoor, outdoor, or even add solar, any sort of renewable technology, you're eligible for the incentives we house in our database. That's why incentives exist, is to encourage real estate assets to go above basic building code. So for the individual that asked that question, make sure that I understood that right when you say beyond code. Feel free to put additional info in the Q&A. Next question, Grace.
All right, here was another one that came in. So it said, if we're only including quote unquote permanent buildings in that vertical landscape, does this include any incentives for smart cities?
Oh, I see. Do we look at cities in general? I think what I'd like to do is explore kind of the nature of what you're doing here. I can't reveal who it is, but there was a particular firm that was working with a city, I'm going to just say it here in Texas, on how to help, rebuild after certain disasters. And we were able to team with that particular firm to sort of as a subcontractor to help reveal additional incentives as part of this city's commitment to more resilient single family dwellings. So that's one way we can sort of work with a city-wide response. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but please email me with your more detailed question. I'd like to dive in a little deeper on that. Next question, Grace.
That's all that came through the Q&A. There was one other, was a direct chat on the side that asked about, we get asked often about whether or not they would be able to share out the reports with other teammates and how that kind of transfer of the Verify report would look within their, again, colleagues on the project.
Awesome question. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Whenever this Verify report is purchased, it's yours. It belongs to, so let's pretend, I'm just going to make this up. Let's pretend the architecture firm purchases the report on behalf of the owner. By the way, anyone who is representing an owner, architecture, engineering, GC, consultant, you do not absorb this fee. You might pay it just because it's easier from a procurement standpoint, right? And you can bill the owner later, but you are not absorbing this fee. The beneficiary of the incentives should always absorb this fee. In other words, your owner, your developer, or your tenant. And that's something we kind of see with all of the firms that we work with. It's very common. You'll pay this up front, but you're not going to, again, you can bill the owner later on. So let's pretend it's the architect that pays the $500 fee because it's just easier than trying to bill the owner, right? It's easier than trying to get the owner to log in and pay the online payment. They can bill the owner at a later date. The architect now owns the Verify report, and he or she can share it with the entire design team, the owner. Maybe the owner needs to share it with the CFO or the in-house tax group or the tax consultant they use on all their property. Yes, you share it. And the digital report is shared in the exact same format so that no matter who opens it up, they are viewing the incentives that were cherry-picked during the 1-hour call with Grace. Further, only the owner of the Verify report is authorized to make any sort of changes. So even if you share that report, with 10 other people, the 10 other people do not have authorization to make edits to this report. In other words, they can't go and randomly select an incentive that you have not had a conversation with IncentiFind about. So we do have protections in place for you so that, there is a single point of contact for the Verify report that can authorize things like apply services or getting connected to our tax consultants. Grace, do you feel like I helped to answer that a little bit better? I know you deal with it every day, needing to share those reports.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I'm trying to think what other commonly asked questions do we get. Grace, do we have any more questions? If not, I think I know how to kind of wrap this up because we only have 8 minutes.
Nope, that's all I'm seeing. Oh, here I have one more. When incentives change, last one here. When incentives change, do they need to buy another report? Do they have to purchase another report when incentives are changing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Grace, can you make a note?
For a specific project, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you make a note to add a note here for about 24 months? We just need it on the slide. Great question. Your Verify reports are not only shareable, but guess what? They're digital. Do not print them. Do not PDF them. We've had people do that. It drives us crazy because you know what we're doing in the background when we put together those reports? All of the details of the incentives are automatically getting updated at a minimum every single quarter. So what we will do is automatically update all of the details. That application period, is it closing? Or is the funding depleted? Is there a wait list? Is there more funding being added? As the year progresses, the calendar year progresses, there is going to be all of those things happening to every single incentive across the United States. So when you share that verify report, we're updating those details again on a quarterly basis, right? We've got a team, an army of folks that are doing that in the background. It is good for 24 months. Why 24 months? Well, to be honest, it's going to be enough time for any ground up asset. It's definitely enough time for any existing asset. So even if you come to us during, selecting 2 parcels of land, which is pretty common, believe it or not, people will use IncentiFind to help them select which parcel of land they should go in, which tenant office space should they go in. So even if you come to us that early, then you have 24 months to get the deal financed, capital stacked, to get the design team, tender a GC, we get the final specs, and we're off to the races. 24 months should be plenty of time. We have seen developments that have a 5-year construction phase. Basically, when your 24 months is coming up to expire, we will say, would you like to resubscribe for $500? You say yes, you pay the online payment, maybe bill the owner later on if you're not the owner, and it's pretty much that easy, right? And then we refresh your report, make sure to add any new incentives that have come out, and now you have access to those new incentives. If we need to go on to chase any new incentives, we will certainly work with you and just sort of restart the verify and apply process. So if you've got that kind of 5-year phase project, don't worry, we already we're familiar with it, and our system and 3-step process are set up to resubscribe, and we can kind of keep you going there. So hopefully that answered that question. If there are no others, here's what's going to happen. I just want to reiterate, a recording of this is not only going to go to those of you who attended, but maybe you don't see your coworker who registered, or maybe you invited your owner and she's not here. Anyone who registered will also get a recording. Further, don't forget, you can always go to our YouTube channel. So again, IncentiFind.com. You're going to go down here, click YouTube. You'll see it populate, right here in our commercial real estate segment, and you can watch that video there too. Last thing I just kind of want to show everybody is, if you're wondering how to submit a survey, you're going to go to IncentiFind.com. You're going to click this little icon and you're going to hit sign up. Do that. Why? We don't want your survey swimming out there online, right? We want to protect it. We don't sell it to third parties. So sign up. The second you do, you log in and you'll see a brand new navigation up here that says search survey. Click that, submit it. We walk you through the rest. So we try to keep it simple, low time commitment for you guys. That's it for today. We do this every month. You will also see next month we'll be featuring key partners that we do work with. And so you get to learn about their particular involvement with either incentive application fulfillment, or maybe they know something about particular incentives such as PACE and PACE eligibility. Each month we try to feature a new subject matter expert or a new third party or partner. So that way you can come to us and use this as a resource for all of your real estate needs. Thank you so much, folks. We will talk to you next month. Bye-bye.